Hey students, Professor Finney here again. It's week 4, so we're going to be looking forward to doing some preaching this week, which I'm excited about, and I hope all of you are also. Um, I also wanted to let you know that I took care of getting the grading caught up on some of the posts. So your reading responses as well as the forum posts, I went through and graded those. Everything basically has been worth 2 points. And for the most part, everyone has received 2 points unless your post went up after Saturday. So Saturday, the end of the day, is when they're due. So if they went up after that, usually you got 1 point instead of 2. But the quality of the post so far has, for the most part, been great. I've really appreciated the conversations that we're having. I think it's going really well. I also want to let you know I put an announcement up, but the Gonzalez and Gonzalez book, Liberation Preaching, is available now on e-reserves. So as you think about having that read in the next couple of weeks, I believe that's due week 6. But check the syllabus and make sure on that. The best way to get that book is probably through the e-reserves because it's out of print. So if you can get a copy somewhere cheap at a used bookstore, or if you find something on Amazon at a good price, go for it. But otherwise, feel free to use the e-reserves. That's why I requested it there. So I did also want to speak to the conversations we had about Scripture. I really appreciate that, and especially since the theme of the class is preaching the Bible as Christian Scripture. I think that a central point of our conversations has been, what is the role of Scripture and how do we keep it in its proper place? And several of the conversations and posts sort of revolved around that, the place of the Bible in relation to preaching. So traditionally, those of us who come from, fairly conservative evangelical circles are probably pretty familiar with what one of you said was sort of the old cliche, the church that believes in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Scriptures. And in a sense, sometimes I think that we actually let the Bible displace God in some ways as the object of our faith. Even the discussion of fallibility and infallibility was interesting. You guys made me think a little bit more about the use of that term, because what is it that we're trusting to keep us from failing or to keep our faith from failing? Is it really just the Bible? Is it just this book that somehow has special powers to deliver us or keep us safe? Well, sort of. But is it really just the book, or is it have more to do with the way that God speaks through that book, or the way that the Spirit uses that book to convict us? I don't know. You guys are giving me good food for thought, and I think that hopefully this class is giving you all food for thought as well. But as we make the turn now to preaching our sermons, I really want to make sure that it's clear that what I'm expecting is certainly that we use the Bible. And I prefer you preach from a passage of Scripture. That's why I'm making you all select a passage and not just a topical sermon where you pull a few passages from various places to support your argument. Many preachers do that, and that's fine. But in this class, really want you to stick with one passage that's the core and the heart of what you're going to say. But it's not the object of what you say. We're not here to proclaim a certain scripture verse. We're here to proclaim Jesus. As Paul said, we're here to proclaim Christ crucified. So that's what I'm hoping that we can do is hold up Scripture as a lens through which we more clearly see Jesus. So that's what I'm hoping for. There's a verse in Acts, or no, sorry, I believe, is it in Matthew, where some people come to Jesus' disciples and they say, "Sir, we would like to see Jesus." In old churches, there's often an inscription on the pulpit that says that quotes that verse. It says, "Sir, we would see Jesus," as a reminder to the preacher that your job is to proclaim Scripture in such a way that people can see Jesus, that you introduce folks, that you facilitate an encounter between Jesus and the hearers. And so that's what I hope we can keep in mind as we consider how to proclaim Scripture, the Bible as Christian Scripture, as a means to helping people encounter Jesus. Hopefully we don't get lost, as the Pharisees did in John 5. Jesus confronts them and says, "You diligently search the Scriptures because you believe that in them you can find life, but you fail to notice that the Scriptures actually testify to me. So I hope that we can proclaim the Scriptures this week and in subsequent weeks in a way that helps people to see Jesus, that helps them find life in connecting with